All right, here we go. So, looks like I'm playing in the event using Scareclaws. And my opponent going to be playing DragonMaid. So, the Dual Triangle event is a Link, Fusion, or an Xyz event. I'm playing Link, my opponent is playing Fusion. And they're going to go ahead and go into the Lady DragonMaid. Of course, they are under Fualos, so I get to draw every time they summon from the deck or the extra deck. So, yeah, that'll pretty much force them to stop making plays. Now, if you know anything about this deck, they're basically going to make DragonMaid Shao, which is a Omni negate, but it negates the activation. So, what does that mean? It just means that if you activate something, it negates it. So, you never activated it, basically. They're just destroying it at that point. It's like they're destroying the card without you activating it. So yeah. So what's going to happen right here? I'm going to activate the Rite of Erismir, and they're going to negate that activation. So if I didn't activate it, that means I can activate it again, right? Yeah, that's exactly what that means. So we're going to activate that motherfucker again. So summon out the adventure token right here, and then we're going to activate Faithful Adventure to grab Illegal Knight to send that very last Rite of Erismir, because I don't need that motherfucker no more. And then he's going to activate this to send this card, Faithful Adventure, back to my hand. Now, could he have targeted that token? I don't know. I'm not him. I don't understand his logic. If he could have targeted the token. But I go ahead and send those two fusion monsters back to his extra deck. I didn't choose the other cards because I don't want to send it back to his hand. I want him to lose advantage right here. So I use the two on-field special summon monsters from the extra deck. So then that way they go back to the extra deck. And then since I did use 1-for-1, I was able to target a monster from my extra deck using that card's effect, because I didn't normal summon it. I used 1-for-1 to special summon it. And then we're going to make our Scareclaw plays. This card right here, Reichhardt, also has a very interesting effect, which reads that if you have 3 or more defense position monsters on the field when you normal or special summon it, you can draw an additional card on top of its add effect. So I go ahead and add Slash right here. And then it also allows me to draw another card, which I draw perfectly into the Water Enchantress, which I will need right here. So glad to get that. And the reason I did that is because I want to go into this card without using one of the other 3 bodies on the field, because I need Astra to stay on the field so I can get an extra attack. I also need Reichhardt to stay on the field. And then this allows me to summon Parallel Xyz. Parallel Xyz will activate to summon additional Parallel Xyz. I'll link these two off into an SP Little Knight just in case he activates Nibiru. Of course, I am going to activate the effect of Scareclaw Tryhard right here to revive the Balloon. And then this will allow me to actually attack 3 times with Scareclaw Tryhard, because I have 3 different monsters with 3 different names from the Scareclaw monsters. And there it is. Very interesting match. Now, let's look at what I was playing. Usually, I don't really care to show the deck, but hey, I'll show it because people are going to ask for it. And this is the deck that I was playing. Now, there's a very specific reason why I don't like showing my decks that I'm like basically playing. And it's because if I show you the deck that I'm playing, you're not going to know how to fucking play it unless I tell you how to play the deck. Or unless you just are that good and you just know how to play the deck already. But then if you already know how to play the deck, then why the fuck are you copying my deck list? That's what I don't understand about when people say, hey, like, let me see your deck list. Let me see what cards you're playing. Now I get it. There might be something in there that you could read and then instantly figure it out. Like just looking at Illegal Knight. I'm pretty sure you could read this card and figure it out, you know. But yeah, for the most part, you know, I guess I should explain why some of these cards are in here. If you don't know about 4 Mud Skipper and how good 4 Mud Skipper is inside of Scareclaws, it basically just gives you 2 additional bodies on the field through the parallel exceeds. So sometimes with Scareclaws, you only really can get 3 bodies on the field at a time if you draw one of them. So sometimes it's a little difficult to continue to play with Scareclaws, and the real benefit to parallel exceeds is you can actually go into IP Masquerena sometimes using those 2 bodies. You can basically make a monster go into IP Masquerena, and then once you go IP Masquerena, then now you can make your Scareclaw tryhard through IP Masquerena, which would give it basically some protection. So if they were to Raigeki you and then Lightning Storm you or something, like both of those effects, you would be protected. So they would have to actually out it in some kind of other way. So that's why I like to make it with IP Masquerena or with 2 materials. So I did want to point that out. It helps. It doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're going to get it with that, but it helps. So if you have an additional body, it helps actually make it work. Or if you get Scareclaw Rival, then basically you get that combo. So it helps, and that's why I like to do that. Then I have a bunch of searchers, so I can actually get to that card as well. So we got Signet Mining, which basically you send a card from your hand to the graveyard, and then you can add 1 level 4 or lower Cyburst monster. Then we also have Pyrorized Map. If you decide to put this into your hand or into your deck, and you have this card in your hand, you have to activate this card first. This has to be the first card you activate, or you won't be able to activate anything. So if you want to break your opponent's board and you know they're going to negate whatever the first thing you activate, this has to be the first thing that you activate. So yeah, if you don't activate that first, you'll never be able to get that card's effect. It'll just become a dead card in your hand. So I do want to point that out. 1 for 1 is one of the most ideal cards you do want to see in your hand, because basically it turns that, like what I did, it turned this into a playable option. So that's how I was able to get that onto the field in that last turn, and then it makes it playable with the adventure engine. So it is a one of, but hey, it's a very good one of. So yeah, Foolish Burial, of course, is just to send the Water Enchantress. It's just another way of getting to your adventure engine. And you have a lot of ways to get to your adventure engine. You have a lot of ways to get into your Scareclaw engine. So you're almost never going to play this deck without using both of them together or just one of them. So let's say if you were to draw 4 Mud Skipper by itself, a Scareclaw monster, and then an adventure engine, of course you have to use your brain right there, your big boy brain. If you cannot special summon 4 Mud Skipper, then of course what you would do is you would use the Rite of Eris Mirror and then one of your Scareclaw monsters. So you would just avoid summoning 4 Mud Skipper entirely. Yeah, so kind of lose out on there, but it's okay. It is a-okay. Also, you could use this to search for a hand trap if you wanted to, like Ash or something like that. But the problem is, after adding it to the card, to the hand, until the end of the next turn after this card resolves, you cannot activate the effect of added monster effects or the effect of cards with the name. So it has a major drawback with this card, so just be aware of that. But I've gotten so used to playing this deck that I understand all the restrictions and everything, because this is not my first time playing this deck. I actually stopped playing it because they banned Scythe. I was using Dagda, Scythe, and DPE, with DPE basically popping the Scythe and then kind of locking my opponents out of the extra deck. So I played this in every single meta. This was my primary deck until they banned Scythe. So they banned it right before they released Malice, because you can't sell Malice if people with Malice are taking L after L after L. And I can guarantee you everybody would have been Scythe locking Malice players, because they need the extra deck so heavily. Like, they're so reliant on extra deck that's why they banned that card for sure. And then let's take a look at what my opponents was playing. I know this was long-winded, but hey, let's look at what they were playing. And here we go. So looks like my opponent was playing DragonMaid. And me, I don't know what it is, but for some reason I've always assumed that DragonMaid is just a very ass deck. Like, I've never thought anything good about DragonMaid. Every DragonMaid player I've ever come across that I'm aware that I've played, not counting decks that like they activate Maxi in my draw phase and then I quit, or like those are the only like exceptions to this. But any deck where I've watched a player play DragonMaid first and then I tried to play through it, I beat every last one of them. I've never lost to a DragonMaid player where I was aware that they were playing DragonMaid. I've only beat them unless they activated Maxi in my draw phase and I quit immediately. And I do that from time to time. Like, if I see somebody activate Maxi and I don't have an out, I just quit sometimes. I'm like, fuck that. I'm not playing through that bullshit. It's basically a loss. Yeah. But anyways, DragonMaid don't do a whole lot of shit anyways. All this deck really does is puts up this card right here, which you saw me play through it and beat it. And then, of course, you have access to this. It's 3 negates, 3 Omni negates. Of course, I never even saw a DragonMaid. I've never saw a single DragonMaid player ever make this. So it must be difficult for them to make in their DragonMaid deck. It must take them a lot of setup to get to it. Or maybe I just don't fucking know. Maybe I don't understand. I don't know. I haven't played enough DragonMaid players. I've never saw them summon this. I've saw Branded players summon this, and it pissed me off. I saw some other decks summon this, but never DragonMaids. Branded, this shit came out on me one time, on top of a Maxi, on top of basically they had everything, and then made this on my turn, and I was pissed because they activated Maxi. They had fucking the main, whatever that shit's called, the one that banishes to send to the graveyard, the main boss monster, and then when you destroy it, it wipes your field during the end phase. That shit. They had that out. Mirror Jade, that's what it is. They had Mirror Jade out. They had fucking Bestials set up. They had Branded lost. I got the fucking shit kicked out of me in that game. And then they summoned this out on top of the Maxi. I was pissed. And I tried playing through it too. And I realized real quick, it's impossible to play through all this shit. But with DragonMaids, I've never, ever lost to this deck that I'm aware of. So, yeah, DragonMaid's pretty cheeks, bro. I'm not going to lie. But they do have Branded in here, so I guess it ain't too bad. The goal should be, though, with this deck, lean more towards Branded. So it's funny that I couldn't think of the name of Mirror Jade when it's actually in this guy's deck. I could have just looked at it. But yeah, he probably should lean more into playing Branded stuff than this DragonMaid shit that's in his deck. And maybe he could have beat me. But yeah. So catch y'all in the next one. And peace.